I can't see anymore. There we go.
Can't see anybody.
Of course, if you have any questions, unmute yourself. All right. All right, good morning. Let's begin. Rest your hands gently on your thighs with your upper arms dangling by your side ribs so that they're not being held up by your shoulders, but they're just dangling. Ensure that your shoulders are above your hips, that you're not leaning forward, not leaning back. Begin by noticing your current physical experience, your current emotional experience, without judgment, without trying to change. We have a whole class where we'll be doing, moving, changing. But before we change, we must observe. And more important than the changes that we do are the examinations of the results of those changes. So as we begin our adjustments, balancing evenly on the sit bones, what are the results of that? The results of that physically, the results in the mind, the results in the breath. As you lengthen from the upper inner thighs to the inner knees, as you lengthen from the upper inner thighs to the lower abdomen, so lengthening the inner groins in both directions. But then pausing to notice the results of that action, the results of the lengthening. Physically, you may feel the abdomen draws in. Physically, you may feel the breath become deeper. Not necessarily. If you're not feeling that, nothing's wrong. What are you feeling? Descend the flesh of the inner thighs. Draw from the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together. And again, pausing to notice the results. Lengthen up through the side ribs. Keep the front bottom rib moving towards the back body as you lengthen from the hips to the waist and in between each and every set of ribs. Lengthen the groins of the arms from the armpits through the inner elbows. And as you allow the shoulders to release down and away from the sides of your neck, without tucking your chin, lift the back of your head up. So that bump in the back of your head moves towards the ceiling without tucking your chin. And again, observing the effects. Keep your elbows where they are. Bring your palms together at your chest. Gently lift the flesh of the chest up towards the ceiling. Touch your palms evenly left to right, right to left. Soften your face. Draw your eyes into your cheekbones. Gaze at your heart. Let's chant the syllable Om 3 times together. Exhaling completely. Deep inhalation. Om. Moving your sternum towards the ceiling, lower your chin towards your heart. Release your hands onto your thighs with your palms up. With your eyes closed, raise your head. And from the back of your eyes, let your eyes open. All right, so you can keep the lift if you want, or come off of your lift. We're coming into Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to come off of my lift. But if your knees are really up, then keep the lift, either the block or the blankets. If you're sitting on the floor, you can take your hands underneath your feet. And if you're up on a lift, then you can just take your fingertips on the floor next to you. So either way, and you can play, you can experiment and go, today I like this one. Some days the floor really doesn't work for me, but I did a bunch of hip work yesterday, so this is feeling pleasant. Don't pull your feet up. Push your feet into your hands into the floor. Feet into the hands into the floor. Press the heels together. Lengthen from the inner groins to the inner knees, moving the knees away from each other, and lengthen from the inner groins back towards the abdomen. It might be easier, Carla, without the socks on, because the socks are going to be slippery both on your feet and your hands. But if you want them, that it's obviously fine, because they have the dots on the bottom. Sticky socks. Again, pressing the heels, lengthening the inner thighs in both directions. So out towards the knees, back towards the abdomen. Draw the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. And let the flesh of the inner thighs descend. And instead of thinking the knees, thighs down, think the knees moving away from each other. And in order to get to move the knees away from each other, and for me, at least when I started this, it was quite counterintuitive. But the more you draw the tops of the thighs towards the midline, the more the knees move away from each other. And if that doesn't quite work or make sense for you today, that's okay too. It took me a while to really figure that one out. But once I did, the effects were fairly dramatic. Notice if when I stop talking, your mind wanders and your body stops doing the work. The not talking doesn't mean stop. It means observe, go inward. And take your hands on the outside of your knees, push your legs together. Take hold behind one knee, draw the flesh towards the buttocks, drag the heel, straighten the leg. Other knee, draw the flesh towards the buttocks, drag the heel, straighten the leg, Dandasana. Thigh bones down. Still lengthening the groins, still descending the groins, still drawing the outer knees to the outer hips. I will say, with 5 people in the studio, it's beginning to look more balanced here. Feeling better. We have 5 people today. It's growing here in the studio. Come join. Now spread the legs. Hands by hips. Press the thigh bones down. And, the traditional pose is hands are by your hips forward. If you want to, do the hands back, it opens up the shoulders. Find a comfortable place for your hands, not the one where you're leaning back, but so shoulders are still above the wrists. And you want fingertips back, fine. You want fingertips forward, fine. You want them out to the side, that's fine too. You can even play with them. But what I want you to really focus on is press the thigh bones down. Lengthen from the upper inner thigh out through the inner knee, through the inner heel, through the ball of the toe. Lengthen from the upper inner thigh back towards the abdomen. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs and draw the outer knees to the outer hips. See that you're balanced evenly on the sit bones. Use the hands to then lift up through the side ribs. But the more you press the thighs down, the more the side ribs lift up. The thighs are engaged, so there's a drawing from the outer knee to the outer hip. There's a drawing also the front of the quadricep from the top of the knee back into the body. So the kneecaps should be firm kneecaps. So you shouldn't be able to move your kneecap, no floppy kneecaps. And again, when you hear quiet from me, it means go inward. It means study. Svadhyaya, self-study. We're going to be doing some hip work today, which in my experience means you need a lot of groin work. Those that came to the park on Friday, they requested hips. So this is similar to the sequence we did on Friday in the park. Take your hands on the inside of your knees, pull straight up, take your feet together, come back into Baddha Konasana. So I saw some that you can hold around. If you hold around your feet, change the interlock, push the feet into your hands. But so for some, this wasn't really working. And you can also, you take your hands between your thigh and your calf, your ankle, and then take hold onto the shin. So that's another way to do it, so that you can use your arms. And if you're here, you can actually use the forearm to help move that flesh out towards the knee. Knees then go away from each other. So those are a couple ways to do it. I like this one personally. For me, I probably like it because it helps pull my shoulder down, makes more space in my neck. But it really does depend on the length of your arm, right? Shorter arms, you might not be able to do that, or some sort of tightness. So this one is also a beautiful way to do it. I've been taught it many times. But whichever way you're holding it, press your heels. Lengthen from your upper inner thighs out through your inner knees, move the knees away from each other, but equally the upper inner thighs back towards the body. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs, compact the hips together. Now I'm going to add an additional instruction here that I believe is important, but I don't always include, because sometimes if you just give too many instructions, then none of them make sense. Most of you have heard a lot of this before, so I'm going to experiment here. So we talk about from the top of the groin, you extend outward. We know that. That was like day one of yoga, extend the inner legs. And over the past months, we've been talking about taking the upper inner thighs, drawing them back towards the abdomen. But at the tops of the groins and the tops of the thighs, that actually has to spread away from each other. So while the tops of the groins are moving towards each other, they're also moving away from each other. Do the words make sense? So even though if these are the groins, we're stretched. So this is one groin. We're stretching it. So this part is coming closer to the midline, right? And same here. But from the midline, that whole chunk is spreading out. So you're moving this away from each other, but still extending this, which means they're coming towards each other at the same time. Does that make sense? So even though you're drawing the tops of the groins towards each other, you want them to move away from each other at the same time. If it doesn't make sense, just do what we've been doing. But if you can add that extra element, it it creates more space. So then you're lengthening while you're creating more space, especially in that abdominal region, right? So as you turn this into a forward bend, I guess we can. So in order to turn this into a forward bend, you begin to bend the elbows, you come forward. But if you're just sucking this towards each other, there's nowhere to go. But if you can spread the tops of the groins, the bottom of the abdomen, the lower abdomen, move the thighs away from each other as you bend. Don't just round the back. I don't care how far you go. Begin to come forward, and you're coming through that space. As soon as the back begins to round, that's as far as you go. Still press your heels, compact the hips, lengthen the groins, descend the groins. But as you lengthen the groins, now there's a widening at the very tops of the groins. And then straighten the arms, come up. And release. Hands on the outside of your knees, push your legs together, hands behind one knee, draw the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel. Other, draw the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel. Dandasana, checking in. Right, so yes, Dandasana is its own pose, but it's also a wonderful check-in pose, like Tadasana. When we check in, you can use Dandasana simply to notice the differences. Separate your legs. So again, I'm less concerned with the arm. So find an arm position which gives you a sense of more ease. So for many, that's fingertips back, but it's yours. It's your pose. Press the thighs down, thigh bone. Make sure the kneecaps point up, the toes point up. Starting off the same way, lengthen the inner thigh through the inner knee, through the inner heel, push through the ball of the toe. Lengthen from the upper inner thigh back towards the lower abdomen. And at the top there, even though you're drawing back into the body from where they don't really meet, I say where they meet, but they don't meet, but that top is spreading away. And draw the outer knees to the outer hips at the same time. So that can you get the experience that the groins are lengthening in both directions, like you're spreading an elastic band or a rubber band. So they're lengthening, but at the same time, they're moving away from each other. And notice the effects. Does that have an effect on your abdominal organs? Does that have an effect on the breath itself? And then this pose is a forward bend version as well. So take your hands in front of you, keep pressing the thighs down. Now, the more you spread the tops of the groins as you lengthen them, that's important. The more you spread the tops of the groins, the more you can slowly walk your hands forward, no rush, and begin to come through that space. If your back begins to round, that's as far as you go. We're not bending forward at the waist. We're not bending forward at the back. We're bending forward at the hinge of the hip. So when I started doing this, I'd be an inch. That's as far as I could possibly go, and over the years, 20 years now, although most of it's come in the past, 3 years, now I can begin to slowly get down. But I have to make that space at the top of the groins in order to get there. So if you can take your forearms down, wonderful, you can do that. And if not, believe me, you're not alone. There's nothing wrong. And extend your chest forward, not just around into the back. The back of the neck soft. Keep the thighs pressing down, lengthen the groins, widen the groins. Compact the hips. And slowly come back up. Hands behind you. Are the actions of the legs still there? No need to give up. Take hold of the insides of the knees. Pull to come up. Pull behind one side, drag the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel. Other side, draw the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel. Hands by your hips, Dandasana, check in, thighs down. So even here, so there's a lengthening of the inner groins, right? There's a drawing of the outer knees to the outer hips. There's a descending of the flesh of the inner thighs. But as you draw from the tops of the thighs back towards the abdomen, can you spread the tops of the groins? So the tops of the thighs move away from each other. And the groins connect with the abdomen. So that whole area moves away from each other, even though you're compacting the hips. So the hips move towards each other. The outer body moves in, but that center begins to move away from each other. And release. Come up onto your hands and knees. Actually, let's do child's pose because it can be very powerful with the groin. So sit back on your heels. Lengthen before you go forward even, lengthen the groins. Descend the groins and widen the groins. And then keep that, push the sit bones back as you extend the torso forward, rest your head. If the head doesn't reach the floor, please take a block or some sort of lift. And then find that same work of the legs, where you're lengthening the inner groins. Really drawing back into the body. The more you can draw that back, the tops of the thighs back into the body, the more you can lengthen outward. It's fascinating. And see if you can compact the hips together while you widen between the thighs, the tops of the thighs, very top, where they come together or close together, and the tops of the groins. And then maintain that into the legs, move the sit bones back and down, crawl the hands forward. Carla, feet, hands a little further apart. Make space for your shoulders. That's it. Yeah, just make space for the shoulders. And then come onto your hands and knees. Preparing for downward facing dog. Press down through the ball of the first finger and thumb as you rotate the upper arms out. Of course, if you need chairs, blocks, whatever you need, take that. Push your hands into the chair, lengthen through the arms. Turn your toes under, straighten your legs. So even here for a moment, thighs up, lengthen the groins, widen the groins as you compact the hips. And then inhale, exhale, come into the pose. So thighs back, chest towards your thighs, sit bones towards the ceiling. Turn your thighs and press your thighs back. Let your head go. Carla, take the feet a little further apart. Press the thighs back. Pull the weight off of your hands. You can push into your hands to move the weight onto your feet, yes, and then pull with your thighs to move the weight onto your feet. So the hands and legs work together. Lengthen from the inner knees up through the inner groins. Take the flesh of the inner thighs back, and then widen the very tops of the groins. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips as you compact your hips together. So outer heels down, outer hips up. And as you compact the hips together, and you spread the tops of the groins. So there's a compacting and a widening that takes place at the same time. And notice how those actions affect the breath. And then look up, walk your feet forward, hold your elbows, take your feet wide. So take your feet wide. You can take the edges of your feet at the edges of your sticky mat. Upper arms in line with your ears. So forward bend now, Carla. So hold your elbows, this one. Toes forward. Make sure the toes are forward. That's it. Good, Carla. Don't just jam the knees back. Press the thighs back. Can you bring the awareness up higher in your legs? And lengthen the groins. From the inner knee all the way up to the lower abdomen, deep into the body. The flesh of the inner thighs moving back. Widening the top of the groins. And as you lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. As you compact the hips together, broaden the tops of the groins. Compacting and widening at the same time. Let your arms go, hands on the floor, walk your feet back, downward facing dog. Press the thighs back, turn the thighs in, press the thighs back, let the head go. Lengthen the groins. Deepen the groins, which is that moving the flesh from the front of the leg to the back of the leg, so make them deeper. And then widen the top of the groins. Compact the outer hips together as you widen. Outer heels down, outer hips up. Soft face. Maintaining all of that. On your exhalation, take your armpits towards your thighs. Watch dropping the chest. The front bottom ribs still move towards the back body. Look up, walk your feet forward, hold your elbows the opposite way. Take the wide feet to start. Lengthen the groins, upper arms in line with your ears. Lengthen the groins, deepen the groins, the flesh of the inner thighs, especially the top of the inner thighs, moving from the front of the leg to the back of the leg. Widen the top. As you lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together and keep widening, compact and widen at the same time. Also, as long as we're widening, as you widen the tops of the thighs, as you widen the tops of the groins, widen the sacral band, widen in the lower back. And now maintain that and take your feet a little closer together. Yeah, you just heel toe a little closer together. And then if you lost anything, get it back. Carla, watch just pushing the shin bone back, okay? Take the shin bones forward. Take the shin bones forward, and without bending your knees, take the shin bones forward. Just don't want you to hurt your knees. Maintaining that work of the legs, lengthening the groins, widening the groins, compacting the hips as you widen the groins. Take your feet a little closer together. And if at some point you're like, no, this is as far as my feet go together, then that's fine. Your body. And then one more time, feet a little closer together. Readjust the legs if needed. And then maintain that work of the legs. Take your hands on your hips, torso parallel to the floor, elbows up, extend the chest forward. Keep the work of the legs as you inhale, come all the way up into Tadasana. You can face forward. Tadasana. So even here in Tadasana, all the same work. So thigh bones back. If I can, there we go. Thigh bones back. Lengthen from the inner knee to the lower abdomen. The flesh of the inner thighs moving back. As you lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together, but widen the tops of the thighs, widen the tops of the groins. So the tops of the thighs, we know where the tops of the thighs are. The tops of the groins are actually at the lower abdomen. So that whole area widens even as we compact the hips together. And notice if that has an effect on your abdominal organs, your torso, your breath, your mind. What effects? What are the effects of the action? Take your arms out to the sides. Rotate the arms up. Watch those ribs. Take the ribs back. Now keep the work of the leg. The work of the leg. When we move the arms, did you lose the legs? Compact the hips, widen the groins. Inhale, come up. But maintain awareness on the legs. If you work the legs in this way, you will notice an adjustment in the shoulder. You may notice an adjustment in the shoulders because it is all connected. Compact the hips, widen the groins. Lengthen the groins, of course. Widen them, then lengthen the side ribs, open the armpits. Arms up, shoulders down. Soft face, soft jaw. Observe, study. And turn your arms up to the sides. Exhale, come down. All right, so I'm trying to figure out how the best way for me to teach this since we can't turn mats and all the crazy stuff that we do. I think we're going to experiment together. I think it's going to be easier if you guys turn this way so you can see me better, and you guys turn this way so you can see me better. And I'm just going to go straight here, and we might change our minds in a minute, okay? But you're going to take your right foot forward and your left leg back. We're doing Virabhadrasana, a version of Virabhadrasana 1. I don't want your back heel down though. So look at my back heel. I'll do it for both sides. My heel, I have two straight legs. My heel is up, so you guys can see. I have two straight legs, and my back heel is up. So my left foot is in line with my left foot. Right foot is in line with my right hip. The heel is up. I am not trying to get it down, and have the toes straight. So this is not the version where the toes are pointed at an angle. So see if you can take that heel out a little bit more, because that's going to allow you to get your hips squared. If you don't have your balance and you need your legs wider apart, then just take them wider apart. And see, Ramona, if you're able, if you can maintain balance, have more distance between your front and back feet. You too, Sean, if they can be wider apart, front to back, then do so, not left, right, but front, back. All right, hands on hips may help you with balance, so I recommend that. If you have a better way, if you want to do that, you can do that one too. Take that, so the right leg is forward. Take the left, that's the back hip, slightly forward, so that the hips are squared, not past the right hip. And as you press through the back heel towards the back wall, I'm not asking you to take it down, it won't go down, or you can push it down, but the back heel is not on the floor. But as you press through the back heel, take the flesh of the front of the back thigh up into the chest. So now we're working on the front of the hip. Don't lean forward, don't throw the ribs forward. So I'm hoping you're feeling an opening in that front of the hip. If you're not, you can let me know. We'll see what's going on. Don't let the top of the buttocks just move high towards the ceiling. Of course, there's a curve in the back, but the top of the buttocks moves down, the tailbone. It's not a pelvic tilt, but the tailbone moves straight forward as the top of the buttocks moves down. And extend through that back heel. Lift the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into the chest. And then bend the front leg. I find the easiest way, balance-wise, to get out of this pose this way is still to parallel the feet and turn to the side. If you want to do it another way, you can. But parallel your feet, turn to the side, and then take your feet together. That's for me, when my legs are that wide, it's actually, I lose balance if I jump 1 foot forward. Everybody at home, this making sense? Words making sense? All right. Switch legs. So left foot forward, right leg back. And afterwards, if you guys want to face whatever way you want, it really is fine. I just wanted you to not have to search the room to find me. So lift up the back heel. If you've been practicing a long time, and we've always been saying get that back heel down, that's actually going to be hard to keep the heel up because it's playing with the mind. But I'm asking you to take the heel up and make sure that the toes are forward, that the foot is forward, not that that you have that 30-degree angle. But point the heel towards the back of the room. Take the right hip forward now. And as you extend through the back heel, take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into your chest. Front of the back thigh right up into your chest. That's it. And keep extending through the back heel. Watch the knee, Carla. You're jamming your knee back. I don't want you to do it from the knee. So your knee should feel like it's bent. If you bend your knee a little, it will be straight. That's straight. Now it's straight. So don't press the knee back to take the heel back. Do it from the thigh. You have to think a little differently. Yeah. Take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into your chest. Right? Do you feel this? Yes? All right. And then bend the front leg, parallel the feet so you don't fall. If you have a better way of coming out, that's fine. Step your feet together. Tadasana. All right, so that was preparation. Now we're going to move into Virabhadrasana 1. So right foot forward. And at home, I'm not really mirroring, so you can take your right foot forward or however you want. It's okay once in a while or often to switch the first side. More and more people are doing that. So again, the back heel has to come up. The back heel has to come up. Yep, and take the left hip forward. Take the left hip forward. Now, you're still lifting the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips. You're still lengthening the groins and widening the groins. Do you remember widening the groins? But as you now press through the back heel, take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into your chest. So you open to the front of the hip as well. We often forget about the front of the hip. Press through the back heel, take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into the chest. Now hands on hips, inhale, exhale, bend the front leg. Keep pressing through the back heel, keep lifting the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into your chest. There, yes, Carla, good. Now lengthen the groins, the flesh of the inner thighs moving from the front of the leg to the back of the leg, right? So that's deepening and widen them. Compact the hips together, widen the groins. Take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into your chest. Weight is on the front heel, not the toes. Press into the back heel, even though it's lifted, it's raised, but you're still extending through the back heel, not pressing into it, extending, the better word. And then if you have your balance, arms forward, arms up. But extend through that back heel, take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into the chest. Even extending out through your arms if the arms are up. And reach up, straighten the front leg, parallel the feet, arms out to the side, hands on hips, take the feet together. And switch sides. So left foot forward, right leg back. Take that left hip forward. I'm sorry, yeah, wait. No, right. I don't know, switch legs. Left is forward, so take the right hip forward. I'm not mirroring, so then I have to remember what's what. I'm used to reversing. Like, oh, that's right, I have to say left. Very confusing teaching sometimes. All right, so press through the back heel, take the flesh of the front of the back thigh up into your chest. Now add all that work of the legs. Lengthen the groins, widen the groins. Compact the hips as you widen. Now keep pressing through the back heel, extending through the back heel as you take the flesh of the front of the back thigh right up into your chest and bend the front leg. Keep extending through the back heel as you bend. Extend through the back heel. The back thigh goes up. Take the flesh of the front of the back thigh into your chest and lengthen the groins Deep in the groins, wide in the groins. Compact the hips as you widen the groins. Try to sit into it more if you can. Front ribs back, back ribs in. Then arms forward, arms up if you have your balance. Weight's on the front heel, not the toes. Still extending through that back heel. Flesh of the front of the back thigh, lifting up into your chest. Some of you will even feel the kidney band lifting. Observe. And reach through the arms, straighten your front leg, parallel your feet, arms out to the side, hands on your hips, step your feet together. Tadasana. Separate your feet hip distance apart. Just rest the brain for a moment. Arms forward, arms up. Hold your elbows. Inhale up, exhale, come down. Separate your feet, whatever amount's optimal for you, so that you can find ease for a moment in the pose. You can really let your skull, your brain rest. Uttanasana. Let your arms go, hands on your hips, still widen the groins, compact the hips. Inhale, come up, Tadasana. Compact the hips, lengthen up through the side ribs. As you compact the hips, widen the groins. Virabhadrasana 2, warrior pose 2. Fingertips up, bend your legs, jumper step. Drop the shoulders, extend through the arms. Actually, let's start with hands on hips. Let's do hands on hips. Left foot in, right leg out. Press the back heel, turn the front thigh, lengthen the groins, compact the hips. Inhale, exhale, bend that front leg. Don't let the torso go over your front leg. So spine perpendicular to the floor. Not this one, this one. Lengthen the inner groins. Draw the outer knees to the outer hips. So that back thigh does need to move back. The front buttock moves forward. Take the ribs into the body so you can really lengthen through those side ribs. And then extend the arms. Gaze over the front fingertips. Soft gaze. Virabhadrasana 2. Observe your pose. And reach with the back arm, straighten the leg, parallel your feet, hands on hips, right foot in, left leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. Press the back heel, turn the front thigh, lengthen the groins, draw the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact those hips together. Inhale, keep hips compacted, bend the front leg, a 90-degree angle. So lengthen the groins here. Both, certainly that front one, and there still is the descending of the flesh of the inner thighs, right? That back one too, lengthen. And still the flesh of the inner thigh moving from the front of the leg to the back of the leg. Compact the hips together. Draw the front bottom ribs towards the back body. Lengthen the arms. Gaze over the front fingertips. Gaze over the front fingertips. Nothing to see over here. And then reach through the back arm, straighten the front leg, parallel the feet, and jumper step your feet together. One more time, fingertips up, bend the legs, jumper step. Hands on hips. So start here. So press both thigh bones back. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. Lengthen from the inner knees to the lower abdomen, the flesh of the inner thighs going back. And as you compact the hips together, widen the tops of the groins. So there's a lot going on here. Also, we haven't focused that much on this today, but take the front bottom ribs back and the back bottom ribs forward. Because if we build up, especially those that hold a lot of tension in the neck, shoulders, if you work the hips the right way, and if you get the torso in line, it will take a lot of stress off of the neck, shoulders. So we're trying to, yes, we're working on the hips today, but in a way, we're also going after the neck, shoulders in a different way by having the lower parts of the body and the mid parts of the body work differently. Turn your left foot and turn your right leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. Now the back thigh, there are two backs. There's the back towards the wall behind you, right? So take the back thigh towards the wall behind you back. But there's also the back heel. Take the inner thigh towards the outer thigh towards the back heel so that you can widen the tops of the groins, right? When you take that back thigh back towards the parking lot, back towards your back heel, the tops of the groins can begin to widen more, right? Of course, the front thigh turning out, compact the hips, lengthen both groins, and widen the tops of the groins, including taking that back thigh towards, not towards your heel because that's down, but it's more towards the corner of the ceiling that the heel is facing. Words make sense? Okay. Bend the front leg, but keep all that work, keep all that work, keep all that work, keep all that work, keep all that work. Lengthen the groins. Deepen the groins or descend the groins. Now take the back thigh goes towards the wall behind you, yes, but also goes diagonally towards the outer thigh, towards the ceiling. And as you compact the hips, widen the tops of the groins. Now take the front bottom ribs back and the back bottom ribs in. And then take the arms up and gaze over your front fingertips. Now, of course, if you're holding with your shoulders, drop your shoulders. But for many, if you've built the lower parts of the body up, when you take your arms up, the shoulders actually don't get involved. That tight trapezius muscle doesn't get involved. Reach through the back arm, straighten the front leg, parallel the feet, hands on hips. Take a breath. Right foot in, left leg out. So again, starting here. So the two backs of the back thigh does go towards the back wall so that you can press the back heel. But the inner thigh also goes towards the outer thigh, towards the wall that your back heel is facing. So that also is kind of take the thigh back. Sometimes I say that, take the thigh back, but I'm really saying take it diagonally up towards that corner of the ceiling. The front thigh turns out, compact the hips together, lengthen the groins and widen the groins, including taking that back thigh back. Widen the tops of the groins. Now maintain that work of the legs. Focus on the compacting the hips, the widening the groins as you bend the front leg. Don't worry about the knee, worry about what's going on, the groins, the hips. Now, yes, the back thigh goes towards the wall behind you back, but it also then goes back towards the ceiling that your back heel is facing, that corner there. Lengthen both groins, deepen both groins, then widen them. Compact hips together and widen the groins. The back thigh goes towards the wall behind you. The front hip goes toward, the back thigh goes towards the wall behind you. The front hip goes towards the wall in front of you. So there's still that opening there, and widen. Now maintaining that, don't lose that. Take your front ribs back, back ribs in. And maintain that, and then extend the arms up. And for many, you just find they float up, gaze over your front fingertips. Observe. Observe your pose. And reach through the back arm, straighten the leg, parallel the feet. Jump or step your feet together. All right, well, we've worked a lot of the lower body. We're going to add some of the upper body. Take your right elbow over your left elbow, cross your forearms, and touch your palms. And if that doesn't work, you can just do this one, or you just keep working those forearms towards each other. This way or this way. Your choice. Straight fingers. So cross, don't turn the wrists. Now take this hand back towards your face and then on the other side. This one, yeah, back, and see if you can do it on the other side of that wrist. There you go. Good, yeah. So that's where we are today. Perfect. Drop this shoulder down. There. Up arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. And release. Other side, left elbow on top of right elbow, across the forearms, and touch the palms. Yeah, no, this one, wait, this one goes, right? Goes back and then around. As much as, yeah, great. That's where you are today, good. Upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. No? There you go, got it. And release. So those are the arms for Garudasana. So let's have a little fun today and do the legs for Garudasana. Shall we? Hands on hips. This is a balancing pose. Hands on hips. So if the right leg is on the bottom, right foot is touching the floor, the right arm would be on top. If you get it backwards, nothing's going to happen. But right leg on the bottom, right arm on top, left leg on the bottom, left arm on top. So bend your legs and you have to squat down. If you're here, it won't go around. You have to really squat down and then lift your left leg up and wrap it around. And for those, at home, you can use the wall. Here, if you don't have your balance, you can take a chair, right? So, all right, well, let me use that chair. So you just take a chair if you don't have your balance here. Take a chair. That's fine. Yeah, chairs are good. We appreciate chairs right here. Now I'm going to hang out here all day with the chair. So take a wall, take a chair. No shame. Front ribs back, back ribs in. And then uncross, come up. Bend your legs. Right over left. And hook. And as long as I have the chair, I may as well use it, right? Yeah, look, I have as much trouble balancing as anybody else. Especially when I started yoga. And they would say for Vrikshasana, I was so in trouble, I couldn't balance at all. That's it. Compact the hips, widen the groin. All right, release. No, I think we have enough time. We're going to play with something. So watch for a minute. So it's not always easy to cross that leg over, but watch. You're going to lie back. You're going to bend your legs into your chest. And then you're going to take your left leg over your right leg. Okay? So we're going to do it lying back. Balance is out of it. Okay? Lie back. Bend your legs into your chest. Take your left leg over your right leg and then hook around and see if you can get it around your calf. And, look, it does depend on your body makeup. Maybe it doesn't go all the way, but maybe if you really draw your thighs into your chest, it can go a little bit more. And if it's not there, it's not there. It's okay. There you go, Carla. You can use your hands too. Maybe you get your hands involved. And then switch sides. So legs into your chest, take the right leg over the left leg and then behind and see if you can hook the ankle, and maybe it's there, maybe it isn't. Everybody's a little different, but compact the hips, widen the groins. Lengthen the groins, widen the groins. And release. First side one more time. Bend the legs into your chest, cross. So the right leg, which the right leg would be on the floor, or the right leg's on the bottom. So now take your right elbow over your left elbow, cross your forearms and come into the pose lying back. And here, then you would take the upper arms perpendicular to the floor, forearms parallel to the floor, broaden across the top of the back. So here, everyone's in Garudasana. And then release the arms, release the legs, switch sides. Do the legs first. It's easier, in my experience, it's easier to get the legs and then add the arms because you might use your arms to help you with the legs. So right over left. And you have to figure out, how close you have to get your thighs into the body to do it. And then once you have your legs, compact the hips, release the groins. And then the left foot is on the bottom. So then take your left elbow on top and cross your forearms. And then upper arms perpendicular to the floor, forearms parallel to the floor. And rotate your wrist so the knife edge of your hand faces the ceiling. Shoulder away from your ear, Sean. That's it. Okay. And then release the arms, release the legs. All right, come on up. Roll to the right or left. Come up. If you need support, take a chair or the wall. We're doing it standing now. Last time. Just for fun. And here, if you would rather do it on the floor, if that worked, great. And you don't want to deal with standing and balancing, yeah, do it on the floor. Judgment-free zone. We are all in a judgment-free zone. So hands on hips. Bend your leg. Take your left leg over your right and hook as best you can. And use that chair for support. Use the wall for support. Whatever you got. Yeah, but you can do, those of you who did, I know not everyone did, and that's okay. But those that got it, if you got it when you were lying back, get it here. It just means you might need to squat into it a little bit more. And then if you have your balance, don't forget, gaze at a singular point, and that helps prevent falling. And then take your right elbow over left, add the arms, balance. If you have it, you don't have to. And then front ribs back, back ribs in, compact the hips, lengthen and widen the groins. Drop the shoulders, Sean. Compact the hips, lengthen and widen the groins. And celebrate wherever you are. Good, Sean. Release the arms, release the legs. Hands on hips. Bend. Other side, so right over left. Compact the hips, release the groins. Widen the groins. Left leg is down, so left arm on top. Sit into it. Sit into it. Upper arms up, forearms away from your nose. Sit into it, compact the hips, widen the groins, and celebrate wherever you are today. And release the arms, release the legs. All right, so fun and balancing. Sometimes works out better than others, and that's just the nature of balancing. And we have to have compassion for ourselves as we learn and grow. Take a chair. Just wait for everyone to get a chair. We'll do downward facing dog, support of the chair. So you just take your hands on the seat of the chair, walk your feet back, downward facing dog. And first, just notice what's there. Is any of the memory there? Are your thighs pressing back? Are the hips compacted and the groins widening? Notice first. If they're not, of course, you can add. We're winding down in the class, so it doesn't need to be your hardest work. But see what memory is already there. Lengthening the groins, widening the groins, compacting the hips. Length through the arms, armpits, and side ribs. And add what your body needs. Not what you have to demand from it, but add what it needs in this moment. And you can even ask. We don't talk to our bodies enough. You can say, body, what do you need from me right now? It will tell you. And if it doesn't, then you have to deepen your relationship with your body so it's comfortable speaking to you, or it's probably speaking to you, but we might not know how to hear it. It will speak to you. Look up, walk your feet forward, Tadasana. All right, have a seat in the chair. Turn the chair so that the back of the chair faces me. And then sit in the chair so your right side faces the chair. So we're all in the room, we're all facing the parking lot. Sit evenly on the sit bones. Now start the groins here, lengthen the groins, descend the flesh of the inner thighs. As you compact the hips, widen the tops of the thighs and the tops of the groins away from each other. Now, even though we're twisting, we're working the spine, I want you to keep more awareness on the legs themselves, okay? Have the legs help with this, with what you're doing in the torso and in the spine. Extend your arms forward, arms up, but keep the work in the legs, compact the hips, widen the groins. Inhale, so arms up, Carla. Inhale, exhale, take your arms out to the sides. And then inhale, exhale, take hold of the sides of the chair. Now get your legs, so compact the hips, lengthen the groins, widen the groins. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turn. So you're pulling with the left hand, pushing with the right hand as you turn. Don't make fists, wide hands, wide fingers. Elbows up, shoulders down. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Keep the legs though, you're still widening the groins. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Don't just turn the head, turn the torso. Elbows up, shoulders down. Soft face. If your face is hardening or tightening, you're working too hard. Work less. Inhale, maintain the lift. Exhale, come to center. Turn around on the chair. Square your hips, knees, heels. Bounce evenly on the sit bones. Compact the hips, widen the groins. Lengthen the groins, widen the groins. Arms forward, arms up. As you lengthen the groins, widen the groins. Maintain the lift. Inhale, exhale, take your arms out to the side. Inhale, exhale, turn. Take hold of the sides of the chair. Did you lose your legs? Compact the hips, lengthen and widen your groins. Elbows up, shoulders down. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Widen your groins. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. The more you can deepen and widen your groins, the more turn you'll get. It fascinated me when I first found that out, or first experienced it. To be clear, I was told it before I experienced it. Sometimes you got to try it a few times, and then it clicks. Don't let the front ribs protrude out. Front ribs back, back ribs in. Inhale, maintain the lift. Exhale, come to center. Move the chair, lie back. Then your legs into your chest. Just give yourself a hug. Hold behind the knees or around the shins, whatever's more comfortable for you. Hold behind the knees or around the shins and give yourself a hug. Use this opportunity to say something kind to yourself, remembering that the purpose of yoga is to still the fluctuations of the mind so that you can bathe in your own true splendor. Can you recognize your own true splendor? Can you say something kind to it? Perhaps today you can bathe in it. On your inhalation, allow your legs to come to the floor, feet to the floor, and then straighten your legs one at a time. Let your arms go. Find a comfortable place for your arms, maybe at about 30-degree angles from the sides of your body, but whatever's comfortable for you. Palms up if that's comfortable. But hey, look, if that's not, then find what's comfortable. Sometimes we demand things to be a certain way. You have to put the arms here. It's not so exact, right? Yoga, as B.K. Iyengar teaches us, is it's a science which has an exactitude to it, but it's also an art, he says, and it's also a philosophy. So the art side means that there's creativity, there's play, there's curiosity, that everybody doesn't look the same. Everybody doesn't experience the same. We all carry different physical impressions. We all carry different emotional impressions, and that shows up in our poses, and even it shows up in what our optimal pose may be, which will be different than the person next to us. So can you turn this Shavasana into an art? Surrender, certainly. Find access to the surrendering part of you. The part that many of us have turned off because we always have to be on the go, doing, protecting ourselves. But you are safe here now, this moment. Can you open that doorway of surrender? And perhaps noticing some places in you that have difficulty with the surrender, giving those parts of you permissions to surrender, let them know it is okay in this moment. And if they're still not ready, offer acceptance. No need to fight. No need to fight your body. No need to fight yourself. Offer acceptance to those parts of your body which may still be in struggle, to those parts of your emotion which may still be in struggle. Accept them and let them be. And surrender yourself to the reality that is right now. Is pleasant, is unpleasant. Surrender to it all. Let your breath be your guide. Shavasana. Take a soft, smooth, peaceful inhalation and a longer, smooth, peaceful exhalation. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your nose. Bend your legs, place your feet on the floor with your knees together, feet apart. Take your hands onto your abdomen or onto your chest. When you feel ready, pick a side, extend your arm past your ear, roll to that side, roll into the right or roll into the left. When you feel ready, take your top hand on the floor in front of your heart. Turn your torso towards the floor first, then push with your hand and your elbow, push to come up to sitting. Cross your legs the opposite way you did when you were sitting. Bring your palms together. Taking a moment to observe your practice. What's different? What's changed? Offering yourself gratitude for showing up, for being here today, and offering your body gratitude for taking you through this practice. Let's close our practice together by chanting one collective Om. Deep inhalation. Om. And you let your eyelids open. Big smile. Namaste. Bow to the divine within you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody here. Thank you, everybody at home who's here. We're grateful to everyone.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was a great class.
Oh, good. You're welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Jonathan, a lot.
You're welcome, Gay. We're grateful for you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Well, thank you, Chaya. So nice to see you.